Hello everyone. Today we are here with a sound made real.
Hello.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Yeah, if you're watching us now, welcome. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try my best to answer.
We have a lot of questions for you, and we are going to be starting with questions to you as an ASMR artist.
Okay, go. Fire away.
How did you come up with your channel name?
Well, I wanted an acronym for ASMR that wasn't the regular one, something that was catchy, something that maybe people could sort of get behind. So I mean, I like wordplay, I like little word games. So I came up with a sound made real. Just ran with that. It's kind of abstract, and I think, well, people kind of like that, I guess.
How did your persona come to be?
Well, the one that we were talking about before, I said I wanted to try and do some ASMR videos based on Vampire the Masquerade. So I looked at some other people's videos on that and asked them some questions to get an idea of how the game worked. I mean, I'd heard of it, but I didn't know a tremendous amount about it at the time. I bought the game, played that for a bit, that gave me a better idea, and then I thought, well, let's start off with one and then try and create a few as we come along. So I started off with Michael O'Riordan, who is a Malkavian vampire. He's Irish, and he is, well, Malkavians are all mad, but he's mad. So, but as vampires go, he's not a bad guy. He's got a bit of a problem with authority.
How has ASMR changed you and your life?
Well, I think it helped me not kill myself. Well, that's maybe a bit extreme, but I was going through a lot of bad times a couple of years ago, a lot of anxiety and depression, a lot of deaths in the family, relationship problems, and it's one of those things that all piles up on you and you don't realize it until it's all just there. And I couldn't sleep. I basically found it very, very difficult to function, and I was trying to look up relaxation and meditation videos, and that was how I kind of stumbled across the first videos that, well, by people that would be considered ASMR artists. And this was before ASMR was coined, so I didn't really know what to call it, and I didn't really talk that much about it to anyone else because I didn't think anyone thought they might think I was a bit crazy. But yeah, it really helped.
How does ASMR affect you personally?
It helps me sleep. I say that. It also, hearing other people's point of view on things, because a lot of people have like a personal touch when they're doing these things. They've got their own reasons for doing it, and it shows in their work. So you feel that you kind of get to know these people who are helping you, and they may not have even met you ever in their life. They may never ever meet you in person. Yeah, full stop. But they do these amazing videos, and they do wonderful things for people. I think they really, whether any of them realize just how much they help, I don't know. I think some of them do. But it's kind of, sometimes it's like they're in the room with you. They're like friends that you'll never know, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it helps me sort of calm down when things just get on top of me. And sometimes everything's locked up and you can't think. So just hearing a friendly voice on the other end of the monitor, that can do a lot.
What are your personal triggers?
Right, okay, I think I like the soft-spoken and whisper stuff. I especially like, I think anything that involves actually, or the kind of sounds of sort of, yeah, with the ears. Obviously, like, I like the ear cleaning videos. That's something that's just popped up recently. Especially like anything that's got like the sound on it. It's got like an almost like a bassy quality, but a low tone quality, and there's no jarring sort of. Sometimes a video can be great, but there's occasionally something hits the mic and then you'll be half asleep and suddenly it'll wake you up because it's an intended sound. But usually anything that's actually, you get that kind of sense of intimacy, as if the person's right there, so they're sort of, stroking your head or sort of cleaning your ears or whatnot. I also, and I'm not sure how many people think this as well, I like the sound of heartbeats. Actually, I find that really, really relaxing. So, yeah, it's just very, very calming.
What triggers do you enjoy using in your videos?
Since I have, well, I suppose, a kind of a deep voice, I like trying to do very low sort of whispers or speaking. I think that actually because at least from my experience, when male ASM artists, the kind of lower voices tend to, there's a quality about it. It's kind of hard, not really sure, never really had to explain it to anyone, but it's almost like, I suppose you could say, paternal. Yeah, it's like, it takes you back to sort of that parents, but if it's female voices, so your mother. If it's male voice, it's like your father or grandparents. And I mean, I've got a lot of fun memories of my older family members when I was a kid. Sort of talking. They'd be telling stories, and so my grandmother, singing me and my sisters to sleep, things like that. So I suppose I try and replicate that as well as the tapping. I mean, I found that anything like with a resonance, like tapping on glass, especially, well, I wish I had one of those crystal singing bowls. That would be something I'd love to use. Maybe some scraping sounds, sort of just like scratchy sounds. Those seem to be pretty big favorites among people, as far as I know. And another one is close-up hand movements, with the fingers. I know at least one or two people that really enjoy that.
Is there anything you do to get into the proper mindset before recording a video?
I repeat what I'm trying to say to myself a lot. I try and get a feel for it. Planning is kind of, sometimes you can plan something, sometimes it doesn't work at all, so you just kind of ad-lib it. But when I do prepare something, I suppose I just practice it a lot. Go over it in my head. Sometimes I write stuff down, little cues, so I can sort of go from one bit to the next. I think as I go further along, as I start to develop this, I'll probably have more preparation. If I start doing more complicated or more sort of, better quality sort of videos.
Why did you start recording ASMR videos?
Because I wanted to give something back to all the people that did the same thing for me, and maybe sort of get other people into it as well. Maybe someone couldn't sleep, maybe someone was losing their mind, and I don't know, if I could help someone, that was worth it.
Do you have any future plans for your channel?
Yeah. I'd like to get a better mic, maybe some better equipment, just so I can do a better quality of sound. But once that's on there, and I will be beholden to somebody in particular, to actually use the stuff that I get. Then I've got a lot more plans. I'm going to be doing some more stories, maybe some more, just kind of ad-lib sort of random triggers. I'm definitely going to be trying to do more with the storyline stuff, like Masquerade. I'd like to try and maybe do some collaborations with some other people.
That is it for the ASMR questions.
Okay.
The next set is to you as an artist.
Cool.
When did you first get interested in art?
Probably when I was about 4. I don't know, I just love drawing. I think when I was at school, if I found any reason to draw any pencils, any crayons, I would have a go at it. And there were lots of examples or opportunities for me to actually try and draw stuff. My dad, years ago, he used to sort of sit in front of the TV on, say Saturday evening, and he used to have like a sketch pad and draw boxes. And he doesn't do it anymore, but he loved to draw. He was a great artist, and that was one of the things that kept me going, because I realized there was more to it than just using sort of colored pencils. So yeah, it was from there I just sketched, doodled, whatever, and it's something I'm trying to get back into again now. I had a bit of a lull. I couldn't think of anything. I didn't know what to do, but I'm coming back to it now.
What kind of artwork do you produce?
It's a combination at the moment of kind of very pictorial, or suppose I say kind of arts and crafts, Art Nouveau inspired work. I've been doing a lot of glass or stained glass kind of style paintings, either using acetate or actually buying sort of panes of glass and from old photo frames, picture frames, and like thrift stores. It's something I got into when I was doing this art course during my sort of depression. It was for people with like mental health issues, and they had the kind of means to try different media. We have to use clay, use crepe paper, that stuff. Just anything that was very, I suppose, hands-on, that required a lot more of yourself. And I mean, aside from that, also I'm trying to do. I do a lot of concept sketches for this science fiction idea that I have. Mostly they're very rough, but it gives me a lot of ideas to actually draw from on the story, and as I go along I hope to sort of refine them into something usable.
What kind of medium and equipment do you use for your artwork?
Obviously pencils, pens. I mean, I actually find I prefer sketching with biro. I mean, it's probably not the best tool to use. I just got very used to it. But I can do pencils, especially when I'm trying to do proper portraits, or something that will lead onto a stained glass picture. I get the basic sort of image down, and then I simplify it into something with the basic lines that I can then sort of trace over with the glass liner pen, and then fire that up and paint the inks onto it. But I'd like to get back into the clay again if I had some way of actually getting hold of a kiln. I mean, you can't use your home oven, it's not hot enough, but if I could do something like that again, I think that would really motivate me to actually keep going with this stuff, and not feel like I'm drying out of ideas.
Where do you get your inspiration?
I mean, I grew up reading a lot of comics, and my dad used to have a lot of science fiction artwork books. I used to, I still do love science fiction and fantasy. So I think I saw a lot of work by people like Chris Foss, Boris Vallejo, which are very sort of richly painted, sort of either sort of Dungeons and Dragons kind of fantasy, like sort of Conan the Barbarian stuff, or these kind of strange, oddly shaped, brightly coloured starships, star bases with huge strobe lights coming out of the ground. And also, obviously, wrote a lot of superhero comics, a lot of 2000 AD, Superman, Batman, Marvel and DC comics. And from then, when I got into my teens, I discovered anime and manga. and that was a big influence. But then when I actually got into college to do art design, I started to look really hard at a lot of, you know, well-known artists, and I think a lot of the work of Picasso, Frank Aubach, and Katsushika Hokusai, who was a very famous Japanese artist who actually adopted a lot of kind of Western ideas into his block printing. Same way as that Van Gogh actually looked at a lot of Japanese ideas and incorporated them into his paintings. I always found that kind of East and West thing very, very fascinating, very endearing. And then I got into more the sort of design aspect of things, and I was very enamored with Art Deco and Art Nouveau. There was something about it that just really appealed to me. I found it very beautiful. And there are other examples of their influences, but those are the ones that come to my mind first. There's something, I think there's a little of all those things in what I do.
Are there any artists that influence your work?
Well, classical artists, yeah. I think Charles Rainey Mackintosh was a big influence for the kind of glass painting stuff that I'm doing. Yeah, he worked a lot with sort of Art Nouveau. And with the sketch, well, the more sort of fantasy fiction stuff, I think names like Simon Bisley. So I'm just trying to think of names. I can't think of them now. Like I said, all those kind of science fiction sort of artists in those books. Also, I don't think I know the name of the artist, but someone who does the cover art for a lot of Horus Heresy novels. Yeah, this is Warhammer 40,000. The board game based sort of storylines. So I just love the kind of epic scale that they have. I mean, I think they're working with digital art, which is something I don't have that much experience with. It's something I'd like to get into if I can ever sort of figure it out. But I just think it's something about the dynamic, that kind of very epic thing that draws on kind of almost like a classical sort of line, even though it's something completely different. It's very much, you know, set in the now, or rather in the future, but it's applying almost classical sort of Renaissance art style, you know, to these future settings.
How has art changed you and your life?
Well, it was an escape, especially, yeah, like I said, I had hard times at school. I used to get bullied a lot. So drawing was something I did a lot of, as well as playing video games. Both of them allowed me just to kind of get away from, you know, that crap. Although, you know, it wasn't for the want of some of the kids at school that were trying to sort of ruin it for me. I used to draw a lot of fantasy creatures, a lot of sort of dragons or sort of ogres and monsters. And you know, it's this stupid crap that they sort of used to sort of, yeah, throw at me because of that. But it almost did put me off. But I kept on with it. So I guess stupid. No, they used to, one kid used to call me devil worshipper because I drew all these monsters. But no, I don't think it's ever left me, and it ever will. I mean, I don't think I could ever give up, you know, art in any, yeah, well, at least not for any sort of prolonged period of time. I'll always want to draw something, even if it's terrible. I mean, I know that I'm not the best artist, and there's always someone better than me, or someone better than anyone, I suppose. It depends on how you look at it. But for me, it's something that helps me get ideas out of my head.
What art project are you currently working on?
I have a bunch of, well, I say commissions. They're not getting paid for. I'm doing them for friends. Some portraits, and also just some, well, like, I suppose you can call it like an illustrative or pictorial kind of thing. I don't know if to say a mural. It's not really big enough to be one. But two friends actually, I think a third, yeah, 3 friends that I'm actually doing something for. This, means a lot to me. And also, well, my oldest niece was asking me questions about what I was doing, so I did like a glass painting for her, and now she says we should do one for my other niece and my nephew. So we're working on those whenever I sort of look after her after she finishes school. So, it's good fun. Nico is my nephew. I'm doing him a little zombie coming out of a graveyard at night, because those kids are fascinated by zombies. And Chloe's getting a little rose, I think.
Okay, that is it for the artist questions. The next set are to you as a writer.
Okay, let's go.
How did you come up with your pen name?
Well, it's kind of actually, it's the name of a character that I'm actually writing a story about. But I figured that at this particular point, no one really knows, anything about that. So I guess I can use that until I come up with something else. But I mean, Kane Larson is supposed to be the protagonist of a series of, well, a series that I'm writing or trying to write. And it's a science fiction thing, but it's got a lot of influences from, I suppose, as it's got older, because I started when I was 16. It was a very simple, very basic thing that read very much like a kid's sort of anime. But as I've got older, I started to develop it and actually put more thought into the background of the story, the universe around it, and the way the characters are and how they develop. And it's become a lot more of a cross between hard sci-fi and a kind of a bit of a fantasy, almost Lovecraftian thing. But I'm getting off the point there. I just like the name so much, I decided to use it for myself.
Which story do you wish you had been the one to write?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know if there's a particular story that I wish I had written, but certainly there's been a few that I would have liked to have been able to write or write like. I think I like a lot of Neil Asher's stories. He has this very, I'm not even sure what word to use as a descriptor. His science fiction is very, it tries its best to be very much grounded in sort of actual science. It's not like the kind of jargon of Star Trek. It looks at current concepts that people are sort of predicting or sort of projecting sort of into 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years into the future, and then it tries to sort of incorporate them into like an almost everyday or more sort of commonly used sort of context. So basically you have, say, an example where basically the human race is a utopia and it's run by artificial intelligence that is basically, it's like we made our own gods, and most people are pretty happy with that in the setting. But anyone who does anything that's also wordsmithing. Dan Abnett is another favorite of mine. I love what he does with the Horus Heresy novels. I've seen some other bits of his work that I've seen here and there as well. I mean, it's very easy to sort of get off the beaten track if you're trying to describe things in a story with that, and then it kind of blows over. But he has this very neat way of sort of rounding it down, so you get that kind of levity, or brevity rather, but you still get all that kind of imagery. But moving away from science fiction, I think I like one of my favorite books is The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. And as I remember reading the whole thing, and it just felt like I was actually watching an indie film, but kind of in slow motion because it takes me longer to read than to actually watch the pictures. But the main character was this kind of fascinating, slightly macabre teenager who had this fascinating way of looking at the world. And obviously when you find out the secret near the end, it just kind of, everything just kind of, it knocks you for six. I thought, brilliant stuff.
Who are your favorite writers?
Well, obviously Dan Abnett, Neil Asher. I just wonder if people say, well, why is he not saying like Stephen King or something like that? To be honest, I've only ever really watched Stephen King movies. I've never actually, maybe this is kind of like blasphemy or something, or sacrilege. I've never actually read any of his books. I keep meaning to. My dad had tons of them, and I think I tried as a kid, but at the time I didn't really have the concentration. Wasn't obviously I said Ian Banks. I mean, to be honest, I think I pay more attention to the actual books rather than who's writing them. But there's a few, obviously, the few names that stand out to me, and I mean, it has to be really something, to me, for it to sort of stay in my mind. But I guess, favorite writers are whoever can write well. I mean, that's not much of an answer, but it's the only one I can really think of.
Where do you get your inspiration?
Well, all sorts of places, and like I said, it usually comes from what I've seen or read or watched, or what I've talked to about with people. I think in particular recently I've been watching a lot of things with one of my friends on online, and she's got a very good taste in sort of anime manga. I know not everyone likes that stuff, but and I mean, I'm discerning in it myself. I mean, most of the stuff that you get is kind of but if you find something good that actually cares about what it's writing and it cares about the characters it's making, it makes you care about them, and it makes you want to try and understand them. And that's obviously the same with the books that I've read, the same with the shows that I've watched, about live action shows. And I also, anything like I like a lot of what people do, like in an amateur sense, like find really good creepypastas. I read one a while back, and I think it was called The Song and Dance Man, and it read very much like a kind of a Stephen King short. It had that very small town, there's some sort of evil comes to them, and there's this horrible thing that happens, and how it basically affects the lives of either the narrator or the people around him or her. Anything that really kind of, I mean, I'm probably repeating myself a lot now. It's I like to say, I mean, my first answer would be that it's mostly from science fiction or fantasy. I mean, that goes without saying, but occasionally you get something that's real, that's really kind of relatable. It's a very slice of life, and it makes you sort of think back to your past, something that obviously connects with you. I mean, I'm trying not to make so many references. Somebody told me I make too many of those, but basically, to anything that allows me to escape is an inspiration.
How has writing changed you and your life?
The same way that art has, it's given me some way to put down thoughts and feelings, and to try and kind of put them in a kind of a world or environment which allows me to better deal with them, which allows me to sort of examine them through the eyes of somebody else, somebody not real. Well, it depends on how you look at that, but you end up making them real, because they're they're a part of you, no matter how small. You created a character, so there's obviously something of you in there. And obviously it ties in with the whole sort of being inspired by what other people do. That shapes what you do in turn. And so I think a lot of, especially recently, a lot of my sort of writing and drawing has, well, I'd like to say that it has some kind of essence or evidence of the things I've been through, the things I've seen, the things I've heard. I hope that the people see that too.
Why did you start writing?
Because I have a big imagination and I needed somewhere to put it all down.
What story are you most proud of writing?
The one that I'm still writing. And it's probably going to take me a long time to actually finish. But I think if I can stick with this, if I can actually get it down, if I can get it out, it's going to be one of the things I'm most proud of my entire life. I hope that's a good thing.
What is the earliest story you remember writing?
I would say it was a very, very long time ago now, but I remember something about a clown and a car. I was at primary school, so I must have been about 5 or 6. And that was over 30 years ago. So I'm probably pushing the memory. I may not even remember it entirely as it was. It may be something completely different, but I'm going to stick with that because I'll say as I'm getting older, it's one of the few things that seems to really stick in my head of things that I did creatively.
What stories are you currently working on?
Well, there's the science fiction one. I keep changing the general sort of name of the actual arc or the the series because I keep changing bits of the actual background that are relevant to that. But for the moment, I suppose I just refer to it as the Chronicles of Cain. I've had some other ideas, things that are still in my head, and I'm going to get to those in time. I can usually hold an idea in my head for a long time, but people say you should write it down. Yeah, write it down quickly or quicker. Yeah, no one says, you've got these great ideas, put it down on paper, stop being lazy. And I am lazy.
Where do you see yourself going with your writing career?
I honestly don't know. At the moment, I'm doing it more for the love of it. If I can ever get away from all the distractions, I could probably do that and sort of, alongside each other. Like I say, I'm a master procrastinator. And, it's very, you get that momentum and then something will kind of derail you and then it's very hard to get back on that. But I'm learning sort of ways to sort of get past that. So I'm hoping that if I can keep this going, maybe I'll be able to write a book, at least one. I mean, that is more than most people can say. Now, how many people ever write a book in their life? But it'll be something to do. I don't know if it would sell very well, but yeah, we'll see.
And we are on the last question for you.
Okay.
What is a fun fact about yourself?
Well, I can think of a couple of things. Do I have to pick one?
No, as many as you'd like.
Okay. Well, I do voices. If anyone has any requests later, yeah, you can ask me one. I'll try and do it. Can't promise it'll be great, but I have I like to try and do all sorts of things. Another is that I don't know what would really constitute as a fun fact about myself. I've got stories, but I don't know if they really sort of go anywhere. If anyone. Let me think. I'm going to have to think about this now.
Oddly enough, this is always the hardest question.
Yeah, well, this is probably nothing to be proud about, but it's a funny fact. Maybe not a fun fact, but when I used to see a girl in Finland, and one time I went over there, and me and her and her friends, we all went out drinking, and I got very, very hammered and I was stoned, and then I started freaking out at this one pub because I got it into my head that she'd been kidnapped or hijacked, as I said. So I was trying to phone my mum to get her to phone Interpol to try and sort of find her, and obviously this all made sense to me at the time because literally I was very drunk and I couldn't see where my girlfriend was. So my first thought is that she's been sort of kidnapped. And from then on, I think I kind of blacked out a bit, and then I remember one of the staff fishing me out of the ladies' toilets when I was trying to be sick. And then we all got kicked out because apparently I embarrassed them all. Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything you would like to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, if any of you could just try and forget that last fun fact, that'd be great.
Okay, well, to anyone who hasn't already, make sure to check the description down below. There's a few links for you to check out.
That'd be great.
Make sure to go, and if you haven't already, subscribe, comment, show love and support. And I'm hearing feedback.
I think we're getting an echo.
Make sure to go, and if you haven't already, subscribe, comment, show love and support. And I'm hearing feedback. Okay, we're having technical difficulty. I think we need to pause the video. Okay. But
close that because I think I was getting feedback.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Yeah, so I thought, wait, I was trying to figure out what was going on. Then I had two tabs up. One was actually showing this a few seconds after everything was saying.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So yeah, anybody who has not already, make sure to go and check out his channel and subscribe and comment and like and show lots of love and support.
You can insult me if you like. I still have you. There's not much there at the moment, but there will be soon. So all I can do is ask everyone to stay tuned and enjoy.
Okay. And thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for now. So,
okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.